Oh, well, this is different. I didn't expect to come right on like this. So I've been away from live streaming for a little while because I was down and almost out from the COVID. And the last time I streamed, there was actually a button up here that said "Start Stream," but apparently that button doesn't exist anymore. And now, as soon as you just start streaming from whatever software you're sending it out to YouTube, well, it starts streaming, and here I am. So it's been, I don't know, when's the last time I did a live stream? It's been a long time, over a month. And I'll have to say, before I get started with the purpose of this, I was expecting to go on at 11, and it is now 5 minutes of. Is that right? That's correct. 5 minutes of. Now, before I contracted COVID, I was. I don't say I want to say I don't want to say skeptical about the extent of it, but it hadn't. Let me just say that it hadn't hit home with me. In other words, I didn't have any direct experience with COVID infection, or did I know anybody that did? Now, I knew people that knew people, but that was about it. And then, about, and you'll have to excuse me, I still have the lingering effects. About 2 weeks before I contracted it, a good friend of mine contracted it and was put into the hospital. He had since been returned home with oxygen after being in the hospital for about 3 weeks. And he was home for about a week, and now he has a relapse, and he's back in the hospital. And they found blood clots in his lung, and they also found some blood clots other places, a couple in his legs. And they want to make sure that they capture all of them so that he doesn't have a stroke. Praying for him. He's in pretty bad shape. Now, I'll say that soon after that, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I'm going to actually do a separate video on this. I contracted COVID. I went through 7 days of hell where I didn't sleep for 7 days because I was trying to stay awake to keep my breath. I couldn't eat, massive headache, brain fog, extreme fatigue, and I was getting worse. About 2 days into it, a friend online told me about Ivermectin. I had heard about it before, but you couldn't get it because through your doctor because it hadn't been approved yet. And they didn't have enough double-blind randomized studies to give their seal of approval, but it was being reported everywhere all over the world that it was a wonder drug. And that if you took it, you couldn't get it. If you had it, it would go away. Problem was, this is a very safe drug that's used all over the world, but for a very different purpose other than viruses. It's used for parasites, worms, that sort of thing. So if you have lice, they'll give it to you in a heartbeat. It's been around since the 70s. Literally billions of people have taken this drug. It's deemed as one of the safest, most tolerable drugs out there by humans, period. yet our government will not. And in fact, up until just a couple of days ago, the NIH actually forbade anybody using it for COVID. Even though it was showing remarkable results. So anyways, the only way you can get it now is from the veterinary circles. They use it as a dewormer for farm animals. And they had this one particular version where you could get it for your horse. 1,250-pound horse. Of course, if you have a smaller farm animal or a smaller horse, you could dole it out with this syringe. See? It has ivermectin in it, and then it's supposed to be as a paste, apple flavored. Not really. So I ordered. By the way, this syringe cost $2.50. Got 4 of them. I ordered it 2 days after I found out that I had COVID. So I got it 4 days later in the mail. I doled out a dose for my body weight. Within a couple of hours, I felt I don't know how to explain it. Almost like a spiritual uplifting. I felt something different. Now, keep in mind, I was going downhill. I couldn't keep my breath. Hadn't slept for 7 days or eaten for 7 days. Couldn't urinate. I mean, I was screwed, man. I thought that if this didn't work, and I was keeping this from my wife, I really wasn't letting on how bad I was. I felt that if this didn't work, I'd have to go to the hospital the next day. It's been 3 weeks since that time. 3.5 weeks. You can see there's still, really the cough is really the only lingering thing. Other than that, my O2 level was below 90, which isn't good. My heart rate was in the mid-90s. That's my resting heart rate. I took it, and about 2 hours, 3 hours after I took it, I felt something inside. Felt like, the best way I can describe it is that kind of like a spiritual uplifting. It was nondescript. Just, I felt different. I felt better. After 24 hours, I could tell, or the next day, that the hold that COVID had on me had been released. That I wasn't getting better. That I felt demonstrably better. I could breathe a little bit better. So I took another dose. After 36 hours, I could tell that it was gone. I was on the mend. I was able to sleep for the first time in 8 days. My oxygen level had come up to 95 from below 90 in the 80s. And I was getting better. My taste had come back. I had this rancid, awful, bitter, vile, disgusting taste in my mouth. They tell you that you lose your taste. No, I had a taste, but everything tasted like that. And it tasted like hell. It was so rancid that I couldn't put anything down. It would make me gag. When I brushed my teeth and spit out into the basin, it was like this gray ooze that came out of me. Anyways, my taste had come back. I still, to this day, the tip of my tongue hurts. It's like little, you ever bite your tongue? Well, I feel like that with like 10, 20 different places on my tongue. That's still, although that's getting better. My understanding is that COVID, affects a lot of different people different ways. I had a low-grade fever through the entire experience. Never really got over 99. But every day, I would have the fever, and then somewhere in the afternoon, I would sweat it out. And I don't mean just sweat it out. I became drenched. I was drinking a lot of water. But then, normally you would think, hey, you got the fever. It's gone away. And, but then it would happen again the next day. 8 days in a row. Fever. Sweat it out. Sometimes it happened twice in a day. I took the ivermectin. I was cured. I followed up with other doses, and then I spaced it about every 24 hours until I depleted one of these, which was about 5 or 6 doses. And I just kept on getting better and better and better. After about 2 weeks, because the thing had just ravaged me, I got back to walking outside, doing our normal trail walk, but I couldn't go. Well, the very first time I tried doing the whole trail walk, and I had a hard time catching my breath. It still wasn't there. I couldn't take a full deep breath. After the walk, now it's a 3.81 mile walk, so it's not, and it's through a trail, so it's not like a sissy walk, going downhill. After that walk, I'm glad that I was able to do it, because I knew that a week before, 2 weeks before, I could barely walk up and down the stairs. But I finished it. The next day, I was dead. It felt like I had run a marathon. But I decided to do it again the next day. Again, dead, but a little less dead after it. Now I'm on around my 7th walk since getting back to walking. And today I'm able to, I always start out not being able to take a full breath, but about halfway into the walk, I can take a full breath. I spread my arms like this and expand my rib cage. My oxygen level now is 99. My heart rate, which was 90, in the mid-90s now, at a rest rate, is now down to 67. I beat it. I'm still taking now doses of this every 3 days. I beat the COVID. But my friend, just yesterday, like I said before, went back into the hospital with blood clots in his lungs. I see videos of young adults telling about their experience with COVID, and I listen to them. I'm saying, man, you didn't have COVID. You had a scratch. You had nothing. And they put dramatic music in the background, how dire it was. And I'm like, you have no idea. And I consider my case a moderate to a severe case. I was on the edge of having to go to the hospital. I know a lot of people, like my friend, have it much worse. But they didn't have ivermectin. They didn't have this miracle drug that cured me. The interesting thing about this thing, I've been doing a lot of research. It's a prophylaxis, meaning that it will prevent you from getting COVID. It is a cure. It will remove COVID from your body. And it is an anti-inflammatory. So any damage that COVID does do to you, this will help. It will help keep it down. And COVID will do damage to you. I mean, I'm over 60. Male, obviously. And right on the edge of that category. If I had not been doing 4-mile walks every day for the past couple of decades, I think I would have met a very different fate. But maybe not. Maybe with this, it would have just been a longer term. I would have got out of it, but maybe if I had this earlier. This was a lifesaver made for horses. The government won't allow. By the way, the ivermectin pills are sitting in every pharmacy across the nation. Every pharmacy. They're there waiting for you to come in and say, I have head lice or some other worm or parasite. But they won't give it to you for COVID. However, 2 days ago, because of the swell of positive reports and double-blind studies and other things, the NIH finally said that we're no longer banning it, where we can neither recommend it nor deny it. So in other words, they're taking a neutral stance, and I guess that means that doctors I know I'm going long on this, and I was supposed to be talking about the Zero DTE, but this was pretty impactful in my life. Ivermectin is the cure. Now, granted, not a doctor, and this is an anecdotal case. Maybe I just spontaneously got better. Maybe I was on the verge of having to go to the hospital and being put on a respirator, but for some reason, maybe a miracle, my body just decided to step up and kill that disease, and ivermectin had nothing to do with it. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. This cured me. Cost $2.50 for this cure, being denied to millions of people. People are dying right now because they do not have this. Vaccines won't help you once you've got COVID. In a lot of cases, they probably don't help you before you have COVID. There's a lot of, controversy around that. I don't know. But I know that this works. All right. Let's see. There's some people, yeah, I had COVID. I had it really bad, Trojan. I'm feeling about 85% right now. Got this cough. If you've been watching me on, well, you'd have to be in one of my services. You'd know that I've been getting back on to and doing videos, but for my private service for the past 3 or 4 days, and I coughed like hell when I started to talk. Now, this is like dramatically better than I was 4 days ago. Did I lose taste? I talked about that earlier. I didn't lose taste. I developed a rancid, bitter, vile, absolutely hellish taste in my mouth. Everything tasted the same. Remarkably, the only thing that tasted differently, I tried some cornbread and I could taste that. But other than that, even the most innocuous things like bread, or no matter what I tasted, anything tasted like this hellish, vile, bitter, peppery taste in my mouth. I couldn't, it made me gag. So, while I didn't lose taste, I lost the sense of being able to distinguish taste other than this rancid taste in my mouth. Well, I'm sorry, Canadian options trader, for your loss. It's tough. I'm praying for my friend who's back in the hospital with blood clots in his lungs and around his body. Yes, there are pills that you can get. Like I said, they're sitting in every pharmacy across the country. They're there. This drug has been around since the 70s. Literally billions of people have taken this in all kinds of doses, and it's deemed one of the safest drugs ever produced. Someone actually won a Nobel Prize for the introduction of it way back when. I heard that you can buy them online if you can get a doctor's prescription. That's the hard part. It's a lot faster to go to valleyvet.com, and order your horse paste. They will tell you, oh, people do not take this. This is formulated specifically for a horse because we flavored it with apple. It could kill you. I don't know what you're talking about, MJ product, Frank. All I know is that this works. I took it and almost immediately fixed me. So, anyways, now we're going to talk about what I intended to, and that was big problems with Zero DTE. You may have noticed that on my website, Asymmetric Advisor, there is a new product there. It's called the Zero DTE strategy. And so I'm doing my own version. The marijuana product, no, I'm not. Marijuana does have it's a I couldn't breathe, man. Maybe I could have ingested something, but no, I didn't want to take anything. I was basically curled up in a ball for 7 days, unable to sleep. There's no way I was going to take anything that could potentially compromise me. I had no idea. All I could put down was water. All right. Anyways, DTE stands for, Zero DTE stands for 0 days to expiration. Get out of here. I'll sit. Sit. I'll let you out in a little bit. It stands for 0 days to expiration, and it's an option strategy you use with assets for the S&P, like the SPY, the SPX index, or even the E-mini S&P futures contract. I recommend if you have a small account, you'll want to use the E-mini S&P futures contract because it will save you from violating the pattern day traders rule. The options contract has intra-weekly expirations on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So you have 3 chances, unlike regular weeklies that are just on Friday, or monthlies that are just once a month, 3 chances to implement this strategy. Everybody out there is doing this super high probability strategy where they put on a 6 delta spread on either side and create an iron condor. And then they will do a 2 times the credit you received as a stop. And they claim that this is being, allowing people to bring in all kinds of income. It's bullshit. The problem is that when you do a small delta trade like that, it means that you have a very huge tail risk. They say, yeah, but it's 90% or 94% profitable. The problem is that when you hit this tail risk, you wipe out 8, 9, 10 days of trades that were profitable, if they were profitable. So then they say, well, you put this stop in that's 2 times the credit. So you put this stop in, and it basically takes what was this wide and makes it this wide, bringing it down to something more akin to a 20 or 30 delta. And on top of it, if you hit the stop, you're out. Whereas if you had just a 20 or 30 delta, you could hit it and then come back. And this is the problem with this strategy. The other problem is that most people are using some form of technical analysis, and you know how I feel about that. Technical analysis is bunk in most cases. Most people have no idea what they're doing. They're just guessing. It's worse than discretionary. It's discretionary with a bad roadmap. Now what I do is, here's the other thing. They tried to take the trades early in the day and then ride them out to the end of the day to expiration. And you know what that means. Well, the longer you hold something, the greater the risk is. So they take a tiny little profit and then pile it on and create huge tail risk and try to hold it for the entire day. They might get stopped out, and then they'll add more, and they just compound the whole thing. And I would suspect that once every 4 or 5 days, they're probably taking a big loss and probably losing three days of profits. Seems insane. So I've been fooling around with this strategy, and I found that if you wait, instead of trying to grab all the premium in the early part of the day, which doesn't depreciably decay from 9:30 to just after noon or 1 o'clock. Maybe decay is about 5%. It's after that it just starts going off the edge. It just starts really coming in. If you wait and do most of your trades at the end of the day and a higher delta, by the way, when you have a higher delta trade, a spread or an iron condor, they decay faster because you're closer to the money. As you get closer to the money, you decay much more quickly. When you're in a high probability, high pop spread, like a 6 delta or something, it decays extremely slow. So it's decaying slow. You're allowing for lots of price variance and lots of time for things to go wrong. And they often do. How was the appetite? I had zero appetite, Jose, for 8 days. I did not eat anything for 8 days. I did not sleep for 8 days. Sorry, that just... Dog wants to go out. Give me a second. I'm going to let the dog out. Come on, let's go out. Emma. Okay, dog will let herself in. So, yeah, they're doing Zero DTE backwards. They should be playing closer to the fire. Bigger delta. Near the end of the day where premium is decaying at its fastest rate. Right? That's what should be happening. And I'll tell you, here's the cool part about Zero DTE. You can make in 1 day on a Zero DTE trade what you would make on a 7 or a 21 day trade. And instead of being in the market for 7 or 21 days, you're in the market for maybe an hour. And it happens fast. You can do various techniques that I tried where you don't even have to be right. I can create an iron condor. It doesn't even have to go inside the condor, and I can still make money by doing it at the end of the day. It's really fantastic. Fantastic service. If you would like to learn how to do this service, how to make what you would normally make in 21 days in an hour, and in some cases 10 minutes. Because that's what I did on Friday. I made from 3 o'clock, actually at 3:15 until 4. I made $1.50 on the SPY. $1.50 credit. It's $150 per contractor. I made it in 2 separate trades. Well, no, I'm sorry. There was one trade at 1 that made like 30 cents, and then the rest I made in the second trade and the third trade, which were after 3:15. One was at 10 minutes of 4. I made 50 cents at 10 minutes of 4 with virtually no risk, Jose. Virtually no. As a matter of fact, the one I made on 50 cents, I had 20 cents of risk, and I made 50 cents. That's a lot better than, say, having $3 of risk to make 20 cents, which is what they're doing with most Zero DTE strategies. Can you imagine that? Taking $3 of risk to make 20 cents? I mean, really, can you imagine that? All right, so I'm sorry. That's $300 of risk to make $20. So if you, Anna, if you use the SPY or the SPX, you need at least $25,000 to avoid the pattern day trader rule. where if you have more than 3-day trades in a 5-day rolling period and you're under 25,000, they will close your account for 90 days. However, if you do options on the E-mini S&P futures contract, you can have an account that's only $1,000 or $2,000, and you can day trade all you want until the cows come home, which is what I do. It's a much better way to go. The commissions are a little bit more, but it doesn't matter because you have that flexibility. The other thing is that the E-mini S&P, it's open 23 hours a day. So you don't have all these big gaps that you have with the SPY and the SPX. So you have that continuity allows for a better analysis. Plus, it has volume. Did you know that the SPX has no volume? It's just a calculated index. With volume, I can use volume profile. And if you know how I use volume profile, you would know how powerful that is. I can see the supply, demand, the order flow. It's fantastic. I can teach you the strategy. I'm still developing it, but I've got a clear strategy in front of me. But, hold on, gotta close the door. Dog's in. Feel better there, girlie? Feel better? Hey, go upstairs with your brother. All right, she feels better. I think she ate some deer bones that were left behind by some coyotes and didn't agree with her. So yeah, you can use with the futures. You can do a count as I think most brokers will do an account for as little as $2,000. I'm working with about a $4,500 account, $4,500, $5,000, 2 accounts actually. Yeah, Robinhood sucks, Trojan. Totally. I like Thinkorswim. That's what I use. Am I still interested in talking about Bitcoin? I am personally not interested from a public point of view talking about Bitcoin or analyzing it or anything like that, and that may upset you. However, you should know that I manage a lot of Bitcoin. But it's with a private fund. Other than that, I have really no interest in it. Seriously. The fund that I'm sort of advising, it's really a lottery ticket. Literally a lottery ticket. That's how big the fund is. It's like several $1 million, and that's like a lottery ticket to them. But I have really no interest in doing that. At this point, with Bitcoin at where it is now, I don't know where you think it's going to go, but the returns on Zero DTE and 3D options are far better and safer. And Jose is asking, will you sell those Bitcoin soon, or it's a long-term road? They don't care. If it goes to zero, they don't care. If it goes to 100 million, they don't care. Well, they'll care if it goes to there. Ernie, what do you think of people who use option flows for trading strategy like Flow Algo? What is your opinion? If it's using volume and volume profile or something similar to that, then it's probably worth looking at. I think I've looked at it for a bit, and it was interesting. But I don't need all that complexity. I really don't. Volume profile with trading view is really all I need. It works fine. But yeah, for 3 days a week, I can be in the market for a total each day of maybe 45 minutes and bring home $1.50. It's $150 per contract. So if I'm doing 10 contracts, I could bring home, a fair amount. But I'm not going to bet that much with a $4,000 account. I probably do 1 or 2 contracts, so between $150 and $300. And the reason why I'm keeping the account size that small, is for the benefit of the customers. Customers want to see what's realistic to them. They don't want, to see somebody who's trading with $40, $50, $60,000 and putting, a shitload at risk when they can't do that, and maybe trading 40 or 50 contracts and they can't do that. They don't want to see that. Can you give a quick rundown on how volume profile works? Yeah, you can go to my YouTube and search volume profile. There are lots of videos on volume profile there. Volume profile is nothing more than the actual data that comes from the exchange. It's the volume at price, where bar charts are price at time. Those are the only 3 pieces of information that come from the broker. The time, segmented time, the price, and then the volume. Volume profile is just a different way of looking at the chart. As a matter of fact, volume profile can be used in lieu of charts to trade. I think it's even more effective than looking at candlesticks. The problem is that most charting programs and most brokers don't offer it. It's been around, and it was the principal way that traders have traded since the 1800s, and most institutional traders are using it. Will K wants to know, how do I get started learning your technique or strategy specifically for someone with less than a year of experience in trading options working with 2K to start? Well, here's the good part. That all my services, including the 3D option service, is just like the Zero DTE, except that it's a longer term trade, right? So most people start with the 3D option service, where we do 7 to 21 day to expiration trades. They're slower, easier to do. And there's a small upfront cost, and that covers a year's worth of coaching and mentoring. And I'll show you how to trade options, how to be, show you a methodology, a structural way to look at it, all of that. And then the monthly cost is very small. It's like $30. Now the Zero DTE is more. It's the same upfront cost, the small upfront cost, but then it's about double what my the monthly of the 3D options. Only because I'm online a lot more with that. I'm online 3 days every week. Plus, we do a Saturday review meeting, and we have other meetings during the week. So you get a lot out of it. It's like having a classroom. It's like going to school every week. But the Zero DTE, as far as the service goes, is more intense in terms of the time involvement that I have with it and the amount of time I have to spend with people. So that's why there's a differential in the monthly cost. Now, the monthly cost is still super cheap. It's cheaper than anybody else that's out there. And essentially, the strategy is pretty much the same. Just it's a different scale, or fractal. Is there always an opportunity to trade the Zero DTE? That's a very good question, Jose. And the answer is no. There are some days where it's impossible to get into a trade, at least in the beginning of the day. It's somewhat manageable at the end. You might get a small trade in. So actually, I'm going to revise it and say there's probably an opportunity to get in just about every day. There's some days where it's very difficult to get in early. And maybe even difficult to get in late, depending on the volatility of the market and whether it's trending or not. I would say that 80% of the days you have an opportunity to make a good trade. So that was a good question. Skunk Funk wants to know, what's your thoughts on Kathy Woods? Smart gal? I don't know who Kathy Woods is. I don't really pay attention to news, watch anybody else. I don't watch the news. Period. I don't watch the news. I really don't get involved in social media anymore, except for the things that I like to do, like playing pool. All I do is I study the markets and I provide you with what I think. Ernie, do you know Jim Simmons? Why do you all want to know these other people, whether I know them or not? I know a lot of people. I don't give a shit about them. I really don't care what they do. I don't fucking care what anybody else does unless I'm doing some research on Zero DTE and I come across somebody that is also proposing an alternative strategy, because I'm willing to learn if there's something out there that I don't know. You know, I've seen people like Tammy Shambliss, who's, for whatever reason, all the shit today. I think her strategy is awful. I think that her research is very good. Her strategy sucks. There's Scott Stewart out there who's playing with $40, $50, $100,000 on his trade, taking 20, 30, 80 contracts. Nobody's going to be able to follow him. There's this interesting woman, Ariane from Axe Options. Again, she's basically doing the Tammy Shambliss trade. I don't see how she's making that kind of money consistently. Is the upfront cost detail listed on your website? Yeah, you go to asymmetricadvisor.com. It's right there. Right in front. I don't hide anything. It's right there. Now, here's something that will, I think, entice you. I am, perhaps, out of the hundreds and hundreds of service providers out there for financial services, there's maybe 3, of which I am one, that shows my actual account, and a registered, regulated broker, Thinkorswim. I screenshot all of my trades, I show them live, and I publish my brokerage statement and my trade log for everybody to see. So there's complete transparency. Everything that I do is an open book. Is the upfront cost? Yes. Jim Simmons is a mad mathematician. Greatest quant ever. Great. Oh, yes, I know who you're talking about. Of course he is. He's one of the best. There's no doubt. I used to be a quant myself. I guess I still am. Is that service where you find companies with potential to grow early still available? It will be. It's called the Asymmetric Advisory, and it will be probably at the end of this month. The COVID pandemic basically wiped out any activity that was happening in the natural resource sector, which is where our primary focus was on. And so for the past 8 months, I really have had nothing to report. There's been a few trades here and there, but I am very proud to say that almost all the picks that we've had in that service have turned into triple-digit winners. And I promised the people in the service that I will probably come back at the end of January and provide a couple of new picks and new reports. But yeah, it's I'm not taking any new customers right now. At the end, and the beginning of February, I will. Will K, love the fact that you don't bother with who's on social media and only focus on what you do. Yep, that's true. And GT saying, Ernie, what grow lights do you recommend? We have platinum LEDs, but they're a little old. They're a couple years old, and they've probably lost about 10 or 15% of their potency. Very good. I haven't done the research to see what are the new and greatest ones out there. So what he's referring to are these tents back here, and you can see that and all there. And I have, those are grow tents. We do have one metal halide we're experimenting with, but it burns up too much electricity and gets too hot. The LEDs are the way to go, in my view. We've been doing it for many years, and we've been producing fantastic yields. Yep. I publish everything, and during a trade, I show everything, which is even more important. All right, so 100%, and it's not like, you know, I show it after the fact, or it's not like you have to take real-time trades. There's nothing like that here. I post the trade, the idea, the alert first to all the members. I make sure they have it first, and then I don't actually take the trade until everybody has the trade in front of them. We usually talk about the trade up, you know, beforehand and do all kinds of analysis and look at it from every which way, and then I post the trade to them, and they know it's coming. And then not until they have the trade in their hand do I actually take a position, and then I show them that it was filled, at what price, and at what time. Jose asks, are we in a bubble? I feel like everything is just rallying. I don't know. These are unprecedented times. It's hard to know what the hell's going on. That's why these types of trades and these options trades, in my view, are the safest way to play the market. We don't we take asymmetric risk. That's the whole idea behind asymmetric advisor. We put a little bit of money at work that can make a lot of money. We are in the market with a little bit of capital to bring out lots of capital. Do you believe one day we will have a Fed digital dollar and paper money? Of course we will, eventually, I think. It's unfortunate, but we will. All right. So you got two things in this live stream. You got my COVID story and how real it is. Not for everybody. Fortunately, for only a very small percentage of people. But those people that do get it, it can be traumatic. And not just for the time that they have the infection. In many cases, for a long time after that, they have this new term out that's called long COVID. And people have a wide variety of ailments that they have that last for a long time. Now, I'm thinking that because I took ivermectin relatively soon, since I had started showing symptoms, that I got rid of it fast enough and completely enough with this powerful drug that I was very fortunate that it didn't go further. So yeah, GT, I had it pretty bad. I was this close to having my wife bring me to the hospital. She didn't know that, though. And I had ordered ivermectin, an ivermectin paste from a veterinary outfit. valleyvet.com. I got this. $2.50. I got a bunch of boxes. This cured my COVID disease. I was going downhill like this, like premium decay, right? Like this, right? And just as I was doing this, that's when I took it and I did this. And the people who are my customers would know, you know, because I came online and I tried to cough my way through talking to them. Well, I probably wouldn't do the Zero DTE. I would start with the 3D options. That is a fantastic service. We make, on average, between 4 and 7% a month. And that might not sound like a lot to you, but that's essentially doubling your account every 10 months, 10 or 11 months. All right? So, and you're going to learn a lot. You're going to basically learn the same strategy, but it's going to be expanded. And then when you're ready, you know, then you can see how maybe a Zero DTE might work into your schedule. Once you take the 3D options course or 3D options service, pay the upfront, and then you're paying the monthly. When you take the Zero DTE, you don't have to pay that big upfront again, unless it's way down the line. Like if it's like 7 or 8 months down the line, and it's like almost like a brand new service, then yeah, of course. But if you're within 3 months or 4 months of taking the 3D options course, I'm not going to charge you that upfront again. If you're interested in how some of my customers feel about the service, Google asymmetric advisor, 2 words, and there'll be a Google business thing and reviews there, and so you can see what other people have said. Currently, we have about 150 members. I can provide this type of service for probably about 500 members. Beyond that, I don't think I would want to go beyond that. But I had a big slowdown, obviously, with the COVID. We're, adding, 10, 15 people every month, and it was going good. But yeah, that it knocked me on my ass. COVID is real. It affects people very differently, depending, lesser effect as you're younger or a woman, much greater if you're older. As I said, I'm over 60, so I was just on the edge of that high-risk group, probably a little overweight, but fortunately I'm also in very good shape. My blood pressure is like 105 over 60, heart rate of 67, blah, 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 blah. But a little overweight. And I think that probably worked against me. But what worked for me, and I'll say this over and over again, is Ivermectin. I don't care how you get it. I would take it and this paste and start using it as a prophylaxis, as a preventative. That's what I would do. Because if this is in your system, you will not get COVID. Period. End of story. Again, I'm not a doctor. My experience is anecdotal, but if you go to clinicaltrials.gov and then put in there ivermectin as one search term and COVID-19 as another search term, you'll see all the trials that are going on that are registered with our government all around the world, and prove it to yourself. Why they're not promoting this and pushing this out there that costs nothing, that is proven to work, instead of those novel vaccines that are unstable and require all kinds of refrigeration and other things and cost thousands and thousands of dollars, I have no idea. When they have this in every single fucking pharmacy across the nation. There are some countries that are like in South America that distribute ivermectin to all their citizens because, for parasites. Go look at their statistics. They've done studies. There are some places where they've done complete distribution in some counties, I guess, areas, where nobody's getting sick from COVID down there because they just happen to have this that they're using for a different purpose. So anyways, 2 for 1 today. COVID-19 stories and big problems with Zero DTE. And I know how to solve those problems. And I can teach you. All right. It's getting late here. It's 11:47. I want to go to bed now. I want to thank you very much for showing up and asking all the questions. It's fantastic. Please go down below and hit the like button. Smash the like button. I'd really appreciate it. It would help. And tomorrow's Martin Luther King Day, right? So tomorrow, is that what it is? Martin Luther King Day or something? So tomorrow the market, the regular market's going to be closed. The futures market will be open. Yeah, tomorrow's Martin Luther King Day. So the futures market will be open. All right, but the regular market will not. The stock market, so SPY, you won't be able to trade SPY. I recommend trading the futures with Zero DTE. It's much better. It has tax consequences that are far superior to just regular. You actually get a break. And no pattern day trader rule. All right, now I am going to go. I think all I have to do is stop sharing. Thank you. Good night. Good luck. Love you. See ya. Bye.